So guys, welcome back to the channel. We're gonna be working on a little bit of a project here. Hopefully it's to go racing in like 19 days. We just picked up the car and yeah, it needs a lot of work, okay? So this car, the previous owner slash current owner, they offered to let us borrow it. So we met this guy about a year ago. Well, we still had the homegrown Hustler. We actually met him the first time we ever brought the homegrown Hustler out into public, and we had a crank trigger issue and it didn't do so well. But we struck off a little bit of a mutual respect thing, I guess you could say. So fast forward a little bit, we had the homegrown Hustler together for 5 years, and or 5 years, I wish. If we had that car together 5 years, you all would have been in trouble. But we had that car together 5 months, and it was starting to come around. And over those 5 months, we raced with this guy several times. Well, we're staying down here in North Carolina for a little while, and our friends over at Flying Hammer, they're originally from up in New York. They live down here in just outside of Mooresville, about 45 minutes outside of Mooresville on the west side of Lake Norman, if you're familiar with the area. So they're letting us use some of the shop here for a little while. They got all the equipment you would ever need to build a bad Mamma Jamma, and that might be coming up here shortly. We did take a little bit of a break from everything, I guess you could say, to a certain point, trying to get things back in line, trying to get things resituated, and trying to navigate the path going forward as far as, you know, everything that's going on, not only in the world, but so on and so forth. So, getting to it. We're going to try to get this car together for a race in 19 days. That race is dig or die, okay? This car needs a fair amount of work. The owner took it out of commission because they had a new car, because they had to get their new car together, because this car needed some love. So we're gonna put my abilities to the test in this deal, and we're gonna see what happens, okay? So this car, the main structure of it is there. I'll be making some major modifications to the car, but the main bones are there. The car's been fast. The car's been car's going low 7s in the quarter, right around 190 miles an hour. So you might have met this guy before, Turbo John. Okay, this guy, we're gonna try to do this as quick as possible because my phone's only at a couple percent because I started working already. So Turbo John, okay, he's one of those solid to the earth guys. Like, once in a while you meet someone that's just like, you know, they're pretty legit, right? They're just honest as the day is long, right from the beginning, and you just get like a decent vibe from the person, right? I'm sure y'all have met them, and I'm sure you've met people that you just get like, you know, the not so good vibe from. Okay, so this car has been together and raced for quite a while, and with any type of racing, he did some radial racing, he did some front side no prep racing, he did some back side no prep racing. So in doing so, when you do that, changing from one race to another race to another race with a conventional car, there's a lot of changes and add-ons that you have to make to that car to go through and go forward with the process, okay? So like a radial car, you need some weight off the you need some weight off the front end of the car. You might want the motor in a different location. You got to change your weight bias. You got to do this. You got to do that. You got to have limiters on the car. You got so on and so forth, right? To make the car work on a radial. Now you go and do some no prep stuff. So you go through and you put a big wing on it with a nice flat deck lid on it with a nice large wicker bill on it, stuff like that. Okay. Then you start making it so underneath the trunk you could add weight and so on and so forth. Okay. There's a lot of those things that you do, changing from one race to another race. Well, when you change from one race to another race, there's a lot of things that get added onto the car that aren't necessarily need to be there. And, you know, as racers, it's an evolution of the car, right? So he doesn't intend on racing this in a no prep scene anymore. Okay, so I got some pretty cool modular tricks that I want to try to do with this car to make it competitive. Okay, here at Flying Hammer, they had a mock-up motor, a big block Chevy. If I can find some down and forward headers, we're going to try to get my twin turbo big block in this car, in this chassis. Okay, of course the headers aren't going to be my headers that I built aren't going to fit this car. They just won't. The strut towers are in the way and stuff like that, and Ideally, we were looking for a tube chassis car because the strut towers wouldn't be there. I could modify the bars that normally go on a tube chassis car from the A-pillar here down into the front, and I could modify those real quick and made my headers work, okay? I had about 40 hours in those headers, and plus the cost of material to get all the J-bends and everything from that. I used a Stainless Works kit to build my headers for the ones that we used on the Dirty 30 and the Homegrown Hustler, and I had like 50 hours into that set of headers. It was the first set of headers I ever built, and they've lasted a couple cars and a couple wrecks and so on and so forth, and we'll be using those on our next project for ourselves. But I'm gonna try to get this car ready, okay? If I can't fit the big block in here, we're gonna be tossing probably a LS in there, possibly the LS from Lady Gangster's Firebird that we had that we didn't finish up because we lost the 30, and we had to consolidate things to sell the house because the house was going up on the market, and we just didn't have time to build 2 cars. And if we were traveling, we had to have one car that was competitive instead of having like a car that was just fun to cruise around in, because it's kind of pointless to go racing if you don't have a competitive car. So, long story short, we're going to see what we can do to this car to make it competitive. It's going to be a lot of work, and I don't have a lot of time to do it. Like literally 19 days. As you can see, the car's wet. Sorry, sorry, John. It was raining like a mother. Maddie's getting a little bit of a nap. We just got back. It was like a 7-hour trip. No, it ended up being like 7.5 hours of driving. Paid way too much money for fuel, and we left at 2 o'clock, and we got back at it's like almost 1 o'clock in the morning now. Okay, something like that. It's midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is. So we got our hands full. So I guess here goes nothing. We're gonna start this build, and it's gonna be a pretty cool deal. So I gave you a quick rundown of what we're gonna try to do: my fuel system, my electrical system, hopefully my motor, my transmission, and put this thing together in 19 days and have a competitive car. So we're gonna see what happens. Now there's gonna be some tricks in the way and some things I'm gonna be doing that are pretty unkosher, simply because we're gonna be racing this in outlaw stuff. And outlaw stuff, you're asking for innovation, and you're asking for people to think outside the box, and asking for people to do things that, you know, I don't know, that's outlaw, right? Do what you can to make the car as fast as you can. So we got to thank Turbo John for this opportunity, having some faith in us. I don't advocate for the rules being completely outlaw, because it opens up a big money. Someone with money could just come in and have some big swing in there, and I don't necessarily like the rules because for those same reasons. But as racers, our job is to do the best we can with what opportunities are presented. So the opportunity of borrowing this car is very appreciated, and the opportunity to let us think outside the box and do some cool stuff in these upcoming videos to make this car try to be competitive with the complete outlaw fully tube chassis cars, that's our challenge. We're gonna see what happens. That's gonna be cool.